Good morning, everybody, and Merry Christmas. And yes, I am willing to take a copyright claim for this intro, because this came from the greatest Christmas movie ever released. I think we're all unanimously in agreement with that, too. Today's show will be about unanimous agreements in terms of we spent too much, somebody's mom's a hooer. Oh, I went straight to that, didn't I? Yeah. What else do we got for you? Oh yeah, reversing the reversals. That's always fun. Honorable discharges? Not so much. Oh, and destroying history and tearing down a 170-year-old monument for what? Anyway, we got all that, and we also got the biggest letdown in Firearms releases this year. So without further ado, welcome to the Christmas special of the Week in Review. And if you pay very close attention to my logo at the bottom right corner, you may notice something a little strange about what's on top of the Christmas tree, and maybe what's on my, quote, bow tie, because this is the most use of my vocal cords I've had in 8 days. This year for me is awful. Like, it's called COVID-19, right? So we've had this for 2 years, and people would argue that the worst year of it was the first year because of misinformation, lies, and whatever, no vaccines and all this other nonsense.
And a lot of people died.
And a lot of people died. I think it was 1/53rd of 1%. So, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of people when you look at the grand scheme of things, right? I mean, come on, 7.5 billion people, but no, I get it. I mean, if you take all the people worldwide who died from this and you try to put them in one cemetery, it would be mind-blowing. So, yeah, I get it. I don't know, man, like, I did a few things this year that I have been resisting the urge to do for a long time, and it turned around and bit me in the ass twice this year, so that sucked. But hey, I was like, at least I have my health. No, I didn't. And then I was like, well, at least I didn't go yeah, you went broke too. And then I thought, well, at least my car runs really good. Okay, I got that. Okay, I got that because, you know, I actually know.
You better knock on wood right now, otherwise.
No, because I actually know a thing or two about cars, which is why people usually come to me when they're like, I've got this much money to spend, what should I buy? But anyway.
No, Sean, knock on wood right now. Do it. Trust us.
Nope.
All right.
Can't do it. Don't worry.
Tomorrow his car will go.
No, I did all the maintenance yesterday. So
Monday. That doesn't mean a thing.
Nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, I did all my maintenance yesterday because in southeast Texas it was 82 degrees on Christmas Eve.
I have a flat tire.
I already had to plug a tire. My new tire, I had to plug it. And I'm starting to think that what's going on is when I leave work, they built an artificial concrete island on a 4-lane road in front of my shop. So now 18-wheelers bounce off of it trying to turn into my industrial park to drop off containers and trailers and whatever. Real annoying. Because apparently my intersection, not the one north of it and not the one south of it, is where all the accidents happen, which is bullshit. But it's where the most 18-wheelers are, and I guess they didn't want people inconvenienced for that extra 16 seconds while he makes his left turn. So I have to cut through a parking lot to go just below the island so I can make the turn instead of having to go forward and backtrack and U-turn and all this other bullshit. And there's a school there. It's a charter school. And for some reason, the base of their parking lot always has screws and nails sprinkled about for the last 4 years, even though there's no construction there. Like, I'm pretty sure some douchebag at that school is like grabbing a handful of screws and just sprinkling them across the entryway, because I've had to replace 2 tires and plug 4 in that time in 4 years. Really annoying. Sam of Anarchy, good morning, and yes, we will talk about a monument that was torn down. It's old news, sort of. It's just what they found is new news, so we'll get to that. Anyway, me about having my health or whatever. So, I don't know how much I want to get into this. I don't know how... Let's just put it this way. I may have picked up Omicron, maybe. But then again, see, the thing is, like, my whole world went to crap on Friday. Last Friday. Not today, or yesterday. Last Friday. 8 days ago. Like, I had all the bad news just dumped in my lap on Friday. And then Friday night, sick. And all the way up until right this minute. And I recognized symptoms, and I did what I usually do, which is Gatorade, Pedialyte, bourbon, that's the best part, Dayquil, NyQuil gel caps, zinc supplements, and I was already taking amoxicillin for an upper respiratory tract infection that I ignored for, admittedly, 6 months. So, anyway, I was already on all that shit. And, when I read the symptoms list for Omicron, I almost died laughing because it was immediately followed by memes of the symptoms list, and it said, also known as the common cold or a weak flu. And I thought, well, I don't have the body aches of a weak flu. So I thought, maybe Omicron? Maybe? But then again, where did I go to get it, right? And, you know, I live a pretty simple life right now. It's just get up, dogs, make sure my dad takes his pills because he's 86 and he can't remember what he had for breakfast literally 5 minutes ago. Work. And then I don't take a lunch. So, like, a lot of people talk about, you got banker's hours. Because I get to go in at 10, where most people go in at 9 or earlier. And I get off at 5 because I don't take the lunch. And my boss, because everything around my shop will kill you in 6 weeks if you eat it every day. He goes to a part of town where he takes his family to eat, and then he brings me back something every day. I call it a happy little bonus because I don't have to pay for lunch. I save like $300 a month. And it's healthy. It's like stir fries and vegetables and things like that. So it's like, I can live with that. But, see, he goes out in public. And what ended up happening is he showed up to work 12 days ago. So about like a Tuesday, right? And he didn't look so good. And I'm like, are you sick? And he goes, I think so. And throughout the day, he got worse and worse and worse. And then he actually passed out and fell asleep at his desk with the lights off for like 6 hours. And I walked by his door, and I thumped on the door frame, and I said, get the fuck out. And he's like, what? And I'm like, go away. You know, my warehouse guy, George, which most of you guys know, uses the F word like a comma. I was like, he opens and closes the shop. You don't need to be here. Go away. And he's like, why are you so insistent I leave? And I'm like, because your wife pulled this shit back in February, and I got sick because she wouldn't go away. And I don't get sick unless someone brings it to me. So fuck off. And he was like, okay, I'll go home. So he left. And I thought, good, right? And I'm Lysoling the whole shop. I'm almost like, I probably got Ebola. Next day, I think it was Wednesday, he's not at the shop. His wife's there. And I'm like, you made him stay home. She goes, he was asleep. Cool. She sounded fine. So I was, whatever, right? He shows up to work at 1 o'clock. And not only that, he looks like death. And he's walking around the shop, around me, most of the day. And I'm like, if I get sick, I will end you. He was like, you'll be fine. Thursday, I was fine. Thursday, he looked like he was on the mend. Friday, death. He was fine. I'm just bleh, right?
Let's figure it out to end someone.
And like Thursday night, the bad news started. Friday morning, the bad news went nuclear. Friday afternoon, like, my dating life ended right there. I was just like, nope, enough. I was like, I feel too shitty to have to deal with this bullshit. So that was done. And then I was like, great. And now I feel like crap, physically. So Saturday, Sunday, everything was just crap. Well, anyway, the Omicron list sounds like the cold, which is what I was dealing with, which I thought I was dealing with. But then I read this thing about people who are coming off of this, weaker symptoms, faster recoveries, nice. But the big thing that stuck out in my mind was damaged vocal cords and a hard time speaking. Now, I don't have the lack of taste issues because everything tastes like honey cough drops because I've been eating these things like a crack addict. But anyway, it's like I want to Botox my vocal cords. They hurt so bad. It feels like someone took a white hot ember and just laid them on my vocal cords. Like, there you go, right there. Just you're gonna love this. We'll just put this right here. No, don't touch it. Leave it. Let it sizzle. That's what I've been dealing with for days. This is the most I've been able to talk in 8 days. So I'm gonna try to get all of this out before.
Roll around a little bit. You'll be all right.
Well, I'm going to try to get all this out before I ended up sounding like Lance Henriksen playing Bishop, because every morning that's what I sound like. I have to push a lot of wind through my voice, and I still sound like Lance Henriksen as Bishop, which is, it sounds cool, but I can't do it healthy. I can only do it when I'm really sick. So no, I'm not doing an impression of that. But anyway, I'm sorry, I just went straight into my personal week in review. It was shit. Okay, it's shit. I just want it to end because I want 2021 to just disappear in my rearview mirror. And in all honesty, it took everything I had not to liquidate all my shit and start broadcasting from Kodiak today. Because, trust me, that crossed my mind. I was looking at cashing out 401s. I was looking at, cashing out my IRAs and fucking putting my house up for sale and selling it to the first bidder and liquidating all my milsurps. I know that sounds crazy, but I was almost going to do it. And I was just like, fuck that. Because I still got to buy a truck. I'm not buying a truck in Alaska. It's ridiculous. The prices are ridiculous.
And you still need a K31.
And I still need a K31.
Outside of Alaska.
Well, yeah. I mean, I probably told you guys this story already. My friend lives on the island, Kodiak, and he bought we went up there 10 or 12 years ago now to visit, just to hang out and check it out, And he liked it so much he decided he was going to stay there. So he took the ferry to Homer, and then we took a bus to Anchorage, and then we went to the Toyota dealer in Anchorage, and he bought a 4-wheel drive Toyota Tundra SR5. And that's kind of the base one. I think the original lowest model is the SR and then the SR5, and then you get into like limiteds, and then you end up with like TRD and TRD Pro, or TRD Off-Road and TRD Pro. So he wanted a basic one, 4-wheel drive SR5, and they had one, and he paid $64,000 for it, which is, I think, what the TRD Pros sell for in Texas. So I thought, you're an idiot, but he wanted it. So yeah, we took that, and he drove me to the airport, and I flew home. At the time, I gave him my first Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan. I gave him one, and came back to Houston, and 8 days later, I bought my second Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan because I started having separation anxiety and withdrawal. I really loved that gun. It's the only gun I ever bought twice. The same one. Same model, sorry. And then after I got that, I immediately thought, okay, well, that hole in my soul is filled. No, it's not. So I want the Toklat, which is the 5-inch version, which is becoming rarer and more expensive. And I should have bought it when I first saw it for $800, because now they sell for 50% more, which sucks. But someday I'll find one. Just like I'll find a K31 for $499. Just like I'll find a civilian off-road, or was it Cop 357 Derringer for less than $1,200? Yeah, right.
Just like you'll find another 4-inch night guard.
Just like I'll find another 2.5-inch night guard for less than $1,500. Yeah, would originally stickered for $599. Yeah, but I'll get one eventually. Yeah, it all sucks. Anyway, yeah. No, I'm. Now that I think about it, I should have did it. Squibb had a Dodge Ram 1-ton Cummins manual, dually. and it was rotten. The body was rotten, and he wanted to get rid of it after he got his Colorado. I don't know if he has it or not. He's in the chat. I'm sure he'll say. I watch a channel called Half-Ass Customs, and he lives in Manitoba. And he took one of those, ripped the body off of it, threw it away, because that's what you do. And he dropped a 1961 International 200 semi on top of it. Not one, two. Built himself a custom crew cab, giant pickup truck, running on super singles, 22.5-inch super singles, 525, 65, 22.5 super single tires on it. He calls it the General. Fell in love with it. I was like, I need to build that. And wouldn't you know it, yesterday on Facebook Marketplace, there was a guy in my area selling 5 super singles, 525, 65, 22.5s on Alcoa 10-bolt wheels. $300. Still looking for a place to stack these jokers because they're huge. So I have accumulated some wheels and tires for a truck that I have yet to build. That I don't have space to build it in. But I have this fantasy of just give me 5 numbers in Powerball. Just 5. I don't have to have 6. And then what I'll do is I'll just go down to the Dodge dealership and just be like, sell me a Dodge Ram 5500 chassis truck. And then take the cab and sell it. And then what I'd really like is a Mack B62 from the 60s. And I want to do the same trick. Get 2 cabs, make a crew cab, make a pickup bed for it, and then drop it on the chassis. On a brand new 5500 6.7 Cummins chassis with the Dana 135 rear axle. I'm getting dorky now. Because that'd be cool. Because I would take basically the General and just plus P it. And be like, aha, look at that, I built one better. But anyway, I'd like to do that. That or an Autocard DC, I think it's called, from the 50s. Like, they just look cool. But mine would be stretched a bit, because I'd want to put, like, a bit of a sleeper cab. So I can camp in it, or whatnot, and leave it running at 7 parts per million at idle with the air conditioner on the beach. Super comfy. Anyway, we do you guys have a week in review you want to share? I'm sorry, I hadn't shut up since we started. Either one of you?
You've got the Joe Biden theme there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the Joe Biden theme lower. And I did order another one of the Wolf T91 uppers.
I want one of those so bad.
Oh, you bought the 12.5. Nice.
I want one of those so bad. Though I also am gonna I'm going to go and order one of those Let's Go Brandon bulk carriers.
Those were limited. The lowers were limited edition, so I don't know if the TSA still has them.
The lowers were, but the bulk carriers were still for sale. I showed that to you the other day.
Yeah.
Was it just laser engraved?
It basically was low. Instead of the logo being on the bulk carrier group, on the side of the bulk carrier group, this Let's Go Brandon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I told Scott that's perfect for his build, but he wants to put, T91 up.
I checked. The Wolf uppers take a proprietary.
Yeah, because it's a different style. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a piston.
Yeah, so the gas key's different.
Yeah, the gas key is different.
So, half my Christmas bonus is already spent because I have to pay back somebody for my last disaster, essentially. And the other half, I really need to hang on to because I want to go up to my local FFL and basically just pull a Bob Leckie, which I know that doesn't mean a lot to some of you, but if you've ever watched HBO's miniseries The Pacific, there's a guy on there, Robert Leckie, and he had something called, I think it was called urinalysis or something like that, where he couldn't control his bladder because he had an infection and he just kept peeing himself. And they sent him to a mental institution because they thought he had battle fatigue too. Anyway, there's a scene in there where one of the orderlies is supposed to wake him up every 2 hours so he can go to the bathroom without wetting himself. And the orderly forgot. So he pissed himself, and he pissed the bed. And the orderly came up and started cleaning it up and giving him new sheets. And he's standing there, like, with his arms crossed, real pissed off and shaking his foot. He's like, where the fuck were you? Right? Well, I want to go to my local after I get my bonus. I don't want to walk up to my shop and give him that same look and be like, where the fuck is my python? Because I had ordered a Colt Python back in May of 2020, and I still don't have it. Now, the day I ordered it was the day I had planned on doing a gun review of the Colt Python, because at the time, only one person on YouTube had one. And I thought, ooh, I can get in on the ground floor. It'll be a great, it'll have a lot of views. In that amount of time, 6 of my friends have already gotten one. At least 1,000 YouTubers already got one. So it's already been played out. But I still want the gun of Rick Grimes, bitch. Because I already bought the swing swivel holster for it, which costed me as much as the gun, practically. But yeah, it's, let's see, 12, and then 7, 19 months ago, I ordered one, and I still don't have it. And I went on their website, and they're still taking pre-orders for it. But here's the catch. When I bought in, it was $245 down, and then you pay off a final balance of $1,245. So it ends up being $1,490, which is pricey. But I figured I paid 15 something for my 500, and I paid $14.99 for my competitor. So I was like, whatever. And now it's $245 down, final payment of $17.49. And I thought, wow, you guys are fucking vultures. But I'm already locked in, so they can't renege on that. But the problem is they're probably filling out every order for the more expensive ones before they give me mine. And that sort of pisses me off. Because the fact of the matter is my dad and I combined have been buying from that shop for over 40 years. And we know everybody there because they're all family members. Not to me, they're all family members. So we've gotten to know them very well. And then they pull this shit. And I thought, well, fuck you. I'm not buying from you guys ever again. Because these are the same guys who also charge $100 for transfers, which I think is insane. But they're a small shop. They don't get much business, right? So I don't do transfers there. But anyway, I thought, well, screw y'all. Give me my Python. I'm never coming back. Then they turned around and they were like, oh, by the way, we started doing the gun financing thing again. And I'm like, oh, really? And they were like, yeah, you can put in an order for an Anaconda, and if you do it through financing, it's all paid off all up front. And we prioritize those deliveries. And I thought, is that so? So I'll probably order an Anaconda from them because their asking price is, I think it's $16.99. But I'll finance it out, so I don't give a shit. So that I will get a Python from them. I will get an Anaconda from them. And I probably won't buy ever again from them after that. Unless I finance through them. That's fine. But yeah, that sucks. So I can't buy the things I want to buy because every year I get a Christmas bonus and I'm like, what gun am I going to buy? And then I think, I can't do that this year. Because initially, I have this on my desktop, on my Chrome browser, which has a flippy amount of tabs, like 30 tabs open. I think he has like 96, which is insane. But I still have it on my desktop, Chrome. Multiple, tabs or whatever. But I was planning on building a 12.5-inch AR-10 from Moriarty Armaments. And it's got a neat brake on it. It's got a really nice handguard and a neat brake on it. And I thought, yeah, I'll buy that. It's $550. I already bought the bolt because I had a source for nickel boron coated 308 bolt carriers for, I think it was $110 delivered, which I thought was insanely good. So I bought one. So I've got an extra bolt, and my goal is, and some of you probably know this already, but I built what I call the reach out and touch someone rifle. It's a 24-inch heavy-barreled AR-10. The thing weighs 19 pounds fully loaded. That's what the
approve of
D.
that name.
Yeah, that's what the D50 drum, by the way. But it's 19 and a half pounds, and it's as long as an M60E4. Big.
Drum too?
Huh?
You got the 50-round drum too?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, I mean, I usually just use 20-round Steelies because I like the look. But
Right.
I got a
So do
good
I.
deal on a D50 for like, I think it was 99 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought one. And put my Atlas 2 bipod on it, put a pretty nice optic on it. And I think I used a Vortex Sonora, actually, on that one. But it's got a Lilja, they call it the M2 heavy barrel profile. This thing is big, like it's thick. I don't even think they turned down the first third of this barrel blank, it's so thick. But by the time you get down to the last third, it's fluted and it's, kind of nice. And it's got a target crown on it. It doesn't have a break or anything. But anyway, I built that, and I put the sling on over my shoulder, and I hold it like an M60 because it's as long and as heavy as one. And I thought, yeah, this is for Overwatch. I'm never going to run and gun with this. It's a monster. But I like it. I mean, I really like it. I put a skeleton stock on it, so it's all steel, double tube with the foam cheek crest and like an inch thick rubber butt pad. Like, this thing is not going to beat you up. It's so big and it's so heavy. It's going to be a joy to shoot. And a little dig at my friend Patrick is, mine never pierced a primer since the day I built it. Ha ha. But anyway, so I wanted to build a smaller one, a lighter one. And so what I decided to do was I bought a Polymer 80 308 lower, which is my first one. I don't usually do polymers, but I thought I'd try it just to say I did it.
Neither do I.
And I'll probably just put in like a drop-in trigger pack, nothing fancy, like 3.5 pounds or something. And then the Moriarty upper, and then I want to top it off with an Elcan Spectre DR. That's where I'm going to splurge. But my goal for this one is 12.5 inch AR pistol, SP PDW brace. Try to keep it loaded with a 20-round mag at 8.5 pounds or less. I think that's doable. I might even be able to get down to 7.5, which would be cool. But that's what I want to build. And then the T91 uppers came back, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So I want to build the 12.5 T91 also, which means Pwnery's going into debt this coming year, which is fine because I got a lot of toys. I don't care. And then my dog's pregnant. So
Oh, she is pregnant.
yeah, she's the size of a fucking house right now. So the good news is I usually have 4 puppies. All 4 are already sold, which means I can do all these things because when you have a litter of Yorkies, that's literally just an extra $2,500 in your pocket.
They're all AKC.
Yeah. Well, no. If I had them registered and papered and everything, I can get way more than I sell them for. I always sell them as what I call pet grade Yorkies, which means they are purebred genetically. They are healthy and happy, and I dock their tails and make them more or less perfect on delivery day. But they're unpapered. So, if you paperwork a Yorkie, you can sell them for anywhere between $1,200 to $2,000. Like, yes, this is Charles Emerson Winchester the Third. Fuck that shit. Fuck off with that. Like, I usually had schnauzers, and I always gave my schnauzers like the names of commoners. So, like, for instance, my first one, his name was Oscar, because when he was a puppy, his muzzle had hair growing in every direction, and my mom says, "Oh, he looks like Oscar the Grouch," and I thought, perfect, Oscar. And then the 2 after that I had was Arthur and Henry. So I named one Arthur because he walked with a funny gait like he was drinking, so I thought of Arthur on the Rocks. And then I had Henry, who was huge and gigantic, and he could pull a wagon with a barrel full of bricks in it that weighed like 80 pounds. So I named him after John Henry. But with my Yorkies, it's a little different. Because, they're annoying. They're tiny. They're little furry missiles. And every morning, which you'll probably hear later, it sounds like a fox hunt in my living room. And I named, just to make people laugh, I name them all after world conquerors. So like Alexander the Great, Charles de Gaulle, which I don't think you can call him a world conqueror, but I gave him the name anyway because he
He's not a
actually reminded
conqueror,
me
he's
of
more of-
Charles. Well, when he was young, he had this face that looked like Charles Vane from Black Sails.
Yeah, but de Gaulle is more of a failure than,
Yeah.
than a success.
But, you know, I didn't want to tell people I named him after Charles Vane. So I was like, Charles de Gaulle. And then my breeding female, it's Cleopatra, Cleo. So like,
Charles
I did
Vane
that.
would fit, I'll tell you right now.
But anyway, yeah, I'll have a couple extra bucks to spend, so I should be able to do the T91. Hopefully it'll still be in stock by the time I get paid. And then I can do the 12-inch AR-10 also, which people are like, oh my god, that's going to kick the crap out of your shoulder. And I'm like, you're speaking to a guy with a 3-inch 500 Magnum. Just lift more weights.
You want to talk about the hell out of shoulders?
I guess.
I shot my semi-auto 12 gauge. I was using I have to use like over a certain amount of FPS in order for it to cycle because it's new and it's the break-in period. And yeah, I shot slugs through that, and my shoulder was sore the next day. So
It will be.
yeah.
My 4570 did the same thing, but... Oh! Speaking
This is
of...
12 gauge. 12 gauge.
Speaking of... Well, it kicks about the same.
Yeah.
Ruger bought out Marlin, which I'm sure most of you knew.
Yeah.
And 2 days ago, they had announced that their first production rifle, the Marger, the Rulin, I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They're going to bring out the 1895 SBL again, the Jurassic World rifle. And I'm kind of conflicted about this because, number one, Ruger loves to overbuild their guns. They pressure test them to 150 plus, like more than 150% over capacity. So if you have a 454 Casull that on average peaks at 65,000 chamber PSI, they test it to 98,000 PSI to make sure that you won't lose a finger. So I'm sort of encouraged by the idea that they're going to build an 1895 SBL with the same, I guess, thought process, which means you don't have to worry about what 4570 loads you put through it anymore. Because if you didn't know, there's 3 different loadings for 4570. So there's one for the falling block rifles, the original, which is the weakest loading, and then like the black powder type loading. Then there's the Marlin loading, which is sort of the middle of the road, and then there's like a Ruger number 3 or number 1 or something like that. Oh, sorry, I got it wrong. The weakest one is for the Springfield falling block rifle. Trapdoor. The middle one's for the Marlin. The high-end one is for the falling block Ruger, which is the strongest one. So if Ruger's building 95s, maybe they could take their own strongest loadings now, which would be great. Which actually would make it more valuable than mine now, in terms of usability. But what I'm concerned is I bought mine 4 or 5 years ago. I paid $710 for it. I bought it when a guy was trading it in. Otherwise, I probably would have got fucked on the markup. This dude brought it in, shot 1 round, brought it back and said, I can't handle this. Give me a 30-30. I looked at that gun, I'm like, what are you doing with that? He's like, I'm trading it in. And I'm looking at the owner at the local, who still hasn't delivered my Python. And he's looking at me, and the guy says, I'll give you $700 trade-in for it. And the guy looks at me and goes, I paid $999 for this. And he's like, I'll give you $700 trade-in for it. He pulled a Rick Harrison on him. Like, take it or leave it. And the guy took it. And when the guy walked out, I said, I want that rifle. And he goes, seriously? I said, go, give me that rifle. And I was like, and you can't mark it up because I know what you paid for it. And he goes, I got to make something on it. So I was like, fine, I'll give you $710 for it. And he sold it to me. It's the one solid he dealt me. He sold it to me for $710.
Yeah,
Fast forward a couple of weeks ago, I see him on Gunbroker, 2,500 plus.
You
And
made
I
out.
thought, I got in on the ground floor on this. It was like buying a first-generation BMW M1 in 1991 and waiting until today to sell it for 40 grand. I was like, holy
Right.
shit. So yeah, my Marlin is
Oh, you
literally
have-
like buying Apple stock.
I don't know what that new
Hmm?
MSRP is on.
Oh, it worked
You
out
haven't
great.
seen what the new MSRP is going to be, right?
Uh-uh.
$14.99.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Okay, I got to answer this because Sam put it up there. Do I have any thoughts of adding an M16A stock, A2 stock to my 308? If I was going to build it to look a certain way, I would have, because I did want it to be fixed. The reason I picked the skeleton originally was because George had one, and he didn't want it anymore, the stock. And I was going to buy him a folding stock that he did want, and then just take his skeleton and put it on my 308 build. What it ended up happening is the stock he wanted was $249, and the new skeleton stock that I bought was $70. And I thought, fuck that, I'll buy a new one. So I bought the skeleton stock. And after I put it on, I was really happy with the way it turned out, like the way it looked. So it's rigid, and it's got that foam cheek piece, and it's more or less where I need it for my cheek well, which is strange because usually my cheek risers have to be like 1.5 inches off the comb, whereas this was 1/4 inch off, and yet it still somehow works for me. I don't know. Most of the time when I look funny when I shoot my rifles because if I bench my rifle, I can't put my cheeks on it because I got Asian cheekbones, they're all high. So I usually end up using the stock as a jaw rest instead of a cheek rest, which is fine until you fire a Barrett. You can break your jaw. Sorry about that. That was bubbling up for like the last 20 minutes. But if I was going to build it to have a certain look, I would have used that. But I went with the skeleton on it. And you guys have probably seen pictures. I'm pretty sure it's on my Instagram, which I almost never use anymore. But it is what it is. I would have used it. So anyway, yeah, new Marlins are coming, 95s. Kind of dig it. I hope it doesn't affect the resale value of mine, because I'm sort of looking at this the way Colt brought back the Python, which I still don't have. I'm not bitter or anything. It's just, 19 fucking months. But it didn't affect the resale values of original ones, as far as I can tell. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll sell it anyway and still make, a ton of profit on it. Like if I sell mine for $2,500 and the new ones sell for $1,500 and they can take stronger loads, I don't care if it's an original. I just want the best shooter I can buy. So I'm not opposed to selling the one I've got. But yeah, man, you want to talk about World of Tangents? I said all that just to talk about how much it kicks, and it left a bruise on my shoulder because you talked about yours. Your 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, you talk about guns. It happens.
Yeah, it does happen. Speaking of, oh my God, we're talking about guns, right?
I know, right?
I don't know if I want to buy 2 more Mosins. Now that I have the PU and I've got the M44, I still want 2 more. And I haven't decided if I want another Mosin carbine, like the cut down carbines or whatever, or if I just want to say, no, I want a hex receiver Dragoon, and I still want to finish M39, right? M39? Yeah.
I'm happy with the M44 personally, because I shot that the other day too.
Yeah.
And, I love that rifle.
I'm very happy with my M44.
I'm not really big bolt action guy, but that M44, sweet spot, right there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like it. I'm very grateful that Jimmy sold it to me, to be honest, because it was on my radar, and really nice ones are a bit spendy, if I'm honest. I ended up I got that gun for 1/3 what it should sell for, realistically.
You know what I paid for mine? I paid $250.
How much?
$250.
That's what I paid for mine.
Yeah. But I had to buy a new stock for it. But the new stock came with the upper handguard too, so it all worked out because that rifle now looks immaculate with that new stock.
Oh yeah, it does have one. Sorry, I couldn't see it past the bayonet because it's above me, but
Yeah, no, I've got a bayonet.
yeah, I love it to death. I mean, it looks like a beechwood stock. I think he uh, denatured alcohol and steel wooled it and it lightened it up a bit, but I really like the way it looks, so I'm not gonna mess with it.
Yeah.
I mean, next to the PU looks like it's made out of I don't know, the wood of a cherry wood piano or something. Actually, it matches my cherry wood bed headboard. That's how dark it is. But the M44, it looks like beechwood. It's like super light, but I like it. It's a nice contrast. Oh, shit. That's what I was going to tell you guys. Well, let me see how bad I'm being beaten now. I found a French 86 Lebel, and I really want it. And I was originally in it for 300. Now I'm in it for 555. It's getting pricey. So, yeah, I gotta sell my puppies. But no, it's a nice one. It's a 86 Lebel 93 upgrade rebarreled 1936. So it should be a really good shooter. And I don't know what it is, but I've got a fascination with 8 Lebel. It's powerful. It's a snappy round. So I've got my 5-shot Berthier, which is not a full-length rifle, but it's not a carbine. It was cut in the middle, lengthwise, that I've got to refurb. And then I'll have the Lebel. And then maybe I'll get a Moss 36 later. Maybe. But I think that's in 7.5. I still want the Moss 49.56. Yeah, it's going to get expensive.
I want a 4956, but I wanted one of those 308 ones. I know they don't work very well, but
Century Arms refurb.
Yeah.
I had a chance to buy one probably about 6 or 7 years ago locally.
Here's the thing: I wouldn't have paid more than $400 or $500.
Yeah, even the local one back then, I think it was like 700. It was in good shape though.
The ones I was seeing at that time, they were going for $400 or $500, and that was the going price for the Century.
Yeah.
And that's about what they were worth at that point. They're still worth. But again, I'm not paying over $1,000 for that now.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them now, and it's like those were Century imports. They're not worth that.
Well, they're imports and then rebuilds. So yeah, I mean, you gotta take it for what it's worth.
Not really rebuilds. They just rechambered it.
Yeah. Let's see. Sam was asking if we had any new guns this month for Christmas. I don't know if I can say that they're Christmas gifts, but what I can say is I acquired the M44 this month. I acquired the 1907 Savage pistol. I acquired that this month. So technically, I guess I did. I mean, I had to buy them for myself, or get them for myself, but yeah, I guess those two is what I got for Christmas. Oh, I got a bayonet too. I finally bought a bayonet. I got the one for the Arasaka. It's a repop, but it's a really good one.
Good job.
Now I've got 2 rifles with pokies. I think we talked about this a couple weeks back.
Just 2?
Well, so far. I'm not really into bayonets. It's like really not my thing.
Well, you need to fix your thing.
Well, I posted them before.
I don't mean fix as in, remove it. I mean just fix it. Repair it.
Well,
area. All right.
The next one I want is a Dutch Beaumont bayonet, which might be difficult because they're quite spendy in good shape. But my Dutch Beaumont's in really good shape, and I'd like to put a pokey on it. Problem is it's so long that it'll hit the wall on the perpendicular wall in front of it. But that's fine, whatever. And then I'll have to find one for the Vitali, obviously. And then I don't know what I'll do after that. spam.
Yep, those Russian bots.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, that's I've been having to take care of it on everybody's channel because they've been showing up left and right.
So Sam's asking, what gun or guns are you looking to replace those guns with?
Oh, the ones I'm selling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna have to sell another AR, but I'm tooling up right now. I'm more or less just buying tools and whatnot, and because I got something for Christmas to start making guns,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking at making some AKs and possibly some SEPs or MP5s because I've got the hydraulic press now.
Oh, you're gonna do the folding receiver blank thing.
Yeah.
You might want to get into Jared's ear a bit because he's done a few too. Might be helpful. I thought about doing that too, but I don't have room for the press brake.
I
don't have a
needed a
garage.
hydraulic press, and I didn't have one. And
Yeah.
Harbor Freight sells.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm a regular there. The worst thing that could have happened to me was the fact that they built a Harbor Freight right at the end of my neighborhood.
Right, and then I was there picking up that, and then there was just a nice belt sander, disc sander,
Mm.
on sale, and well, that night strike couldn't handle it.
Fair enough. I mean, guilty pleasures, right? I never feel bad about buying tools, ever. Because if you buy them, number one, it's because you needed it for something. Number two,
Right.
you never lose money on it because
I mean,
time
and
is money.
with the belt sander does help in kind of cleaning some of the SEPME parts up so you can build the SEPME. So it's not like it's not needed,
Yeah.
but again, it's just like getting some tools.
The thing I was looking
Especially on my
for was
guns.
a long shaft buffer, kind of like the one Mark has, where it's got the one
Right.
shaft instead of the two on either end. But I think the one he has, he said, was like $800, which is crazy. I found an 8-inch long shaft buffer, but it's on both sides. I think it's like $150 because I want to do. I need a carding wheel. I mean, every time I restore a mill cert, I have to do it by hand with steel wool, and it's a pain in the ass because arthritis. I mean, like I have good dexterity days, but doing anything squeezing steel wool and working it on steel for more than like half an hour, and I'm in agony. So,
I'm also looking at possibly buying or building a FAL.
a what?
A FAL.
It seems like a lot of people are doing that this year.
Because that's one of the rifles that's going to keep going up. The AR-10s are pretty much the same price. They've gone up a little bit. They're pretty much the same price.
Mm.
So the only one I really need to get is the FAL. That way, I've got the M14. I've got the HK91 set me.
Mhm.
I've got once I get that, I've got I get the FAL, then I get the AR-10. Bam, I'm done. I'm ready to do a video on battle rifles because I don't have those other rifles. I'm missing 2 of them.
Go, because I just got to my mom's house.
Okay, later, Scott.
See ya.
Merry
I've been putting this off for 2 years, but I have this desire to build a DP-28, and the parts kits right now are $575.
Yeah.
But then the receiver, the semi-auto receiver and bolt, that's another $800, something like that. So it's going to be an expensive build.
What I'm looking at is I can get a FAL Century G1 receiver, so
Mhm.
an inch a metric receiver
Mhm.
with the barrel on it already. All I have to do is just add like the parts kit to it, and it's good.
Were you the one that told me this, or was it Scott? PSA bought Nodak Spud.
No, I told you that the other day.
Okay, and then so it stands to reason that they're going to get into the receiver game for like AKs.
They're getting in. Remember, PSA also bought out DDI a couple years ago.
Yeah. See,
So-
my concern is I hope that they don't fall into the same trap that Freedom Munitions did. And what I mean by that is they got a little too big for their britches, and they expanded and bought out a bunch of smaller companies, and then went defunct, and then all of them went, downhill. If I'm not mistaken, LAX Ammo bought Freedom Munitions now because their websites are identical.
The thing about PSA is, basically when they buy a company out, they normally either merge it into the PSA company, or they get all the tooling and bring it to PSA or one of the other subsidiaries.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to worry about that. It's just they're not going to make a new factory. They're probably just going to use an existing factory building it out.
See, and that's the other thing. God, that's another one I had. Okay. I like the Bin Laden crank rifle. And the closest I could come to getting the look that I want and the caliber that I want is the AKP from PSA with the nutmeg furniture. That's another thing I wanted to buy. That's another expense. See, Sam says he's looking to build an AR to look like a Knight's Armament SR25. Okay, so if you want to build that, don't get the Arrow M5 lower because it's got the wrong receiver cut. You need the one with the 45-degree angle cut into it. If you go that route, I think your uppers choices are a little more limited to the DPMS pattern, which is what I think the Arrow uses, which is what I've got, the curvy one. But I totally get the appeal of wanting to build an SR25 because those things are like 10 grand plus. So if you want to build a clone of that, by all means, go right ahead. It's just be aware that what's the other pattern called? The Armalite pattern, right? That pattern seems to have less support than the DPMS pattern in terms of like parts to throw into them.
You got my message on Discord.
It's in the background. Hang on, let me pull it up. Oh wait, if I do that, it's gonna mess with the screenshot. I'll have to look at it later.
Look at it later, but Merry Christmas.
Or I can probably do it through my phone now that I think about it. Yeah, I can do that. Okay.
There's another game.
Oh, okay. Is that the double dragon thing you were talking about?
Yeah, that's it.
Sweet. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Nightstrike and I are going to get ready to do we're going to do a game chat.
Yeah.
And it's going to be centered around stuff that most of us and you have grown up with, or things that have inspired us into being gun people, or maybe just how the gaming culture turned us into who we are today, type of a thing.
I would say more on the sides of retro gaming, and then
Yep.
we got it through retro.
Yeah, and for those of you who watch my Penny Arcade series, you guys know that I'm pretty big into like retro type games, or indie games, pixel art, stuff like that. So that's something for you guys to look forward to. It looks like by all accounts it's going to be a 2022 release, so we will do that.
We need to come up with a day, because I got a week. Just tell me what day, and I'll make time. It's just we gotta
Right.
use it.
And then plus the other cool thing is we were talking about doing the screen share thing while we were playing, like the 2 titles that you sent me. That ought to look really cool on the screen, so it's going to be a thing for sure.
It's gotta be. Yeah.
All right, so we have burned almost an hour of time, and like I said before, we had 6 stories to give you guys this week, strangely enough.
We got into guns, and people love talking about guns.
Yeah, and it's Christmas, so
Even the people out there, they want to hear about guns.
yeah, and any distraction away from having to deal with family and in-laws is probably a welcome one. So, we do have 6 stories for you, which is strange because last night I was sitting there getting ready to do show prep and I didn't have any stories for you, and now I've got 6. So, it worked out pretty good. But I suspect we're going to go through these pretty quickly because they're easy to talk about. I'll just say that. So anyway, first story I got for you, I titled it Reversing the Reversal. And what it is here is California's Ninth Circus has originally upheld their magazine ban, meaning you can't possess or use magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, including the ones that were shipped during Freedom Week. That raised a big stink with everybody, including like the California Gun Owners Association. So they have decided to appeal to the Supreme Court. And generally, when you make an appeal, you ask for a stay of either a ban or a lifting of a ban. And it's been sort of my observational experience that anytime you try to hold or put a stay on a ban for 2A cases, they're never granted, which means you're always denied your right until the ruling. Whereas in other cases, they'll say, well, we won't deny your rights until we make a ruling on it. So it's kind of backwards. So when the California Gun Owners Association, I think that's what they're called, they said, we're going to appeal this to the Supreme Court, you would instantly think that the Ninth Circuit would say, well, we're not going to have a stay on the ban. But they didn't. They actually agreed. They no contested. They said, you know what? Cool. Go ahead and take it to the Supreme Court. I think you have 90 days or something like that to put in a writ of certiorari. Certiorari. Yeah. So you can go out and enjoy your Freedom Week magazines in the meantime. You don't have to turn them over. You don't have to sell them or destroy them.
I think right now they're afraid if they push too hard with all this, that it's gonna bite them in the ass when the New York decision comes around.
Yeah. And
that's why they're doing this. They're doing this preemptively to appease the people, because if in the meantime, because it may look like the New York decision is going to go the way we would like it.
Yeah, and the thing is if they keep you distracted by saying, no, go to the range, take your 30-round mags, go ahead, no big deal. They're thinking if you get to go do that, you won't be paying attention to what's going on in the New York case. Boy, are they wrong. So anyway,
they think they're going to be able to pull a fast one over everybody. I doubt it. Not
no.
This year. Or this
But
next
yeah, reverse of the reversal, strangely enough. Keep your eyes on this, but realistically speaking, you know it's coming back. I mean, you had your chance to get rid of Gavin Newsom and you failed there. So was that a low blow? I don't know.
I think that was too soon.
I don't know. Like, when Texas carry became a thing, it was because somebody at Florida carry moved to Texas and started it here. And then it ballooned into something pretty awesome. And now Texas is the 21st constitutional carry state in the nation. Congratulations to Ohio, you're about to be the 22nd. Louisiana people are probably going, hey, what the hell? Because the day we passed it, everyone thought Louisiana was going to pass it immediately after, because they're sort of like our redheaded stepchild.
We had both bills this year in South Carolina, and unfortunately, constitutional carry didn't get through. We got open carry with permits, so we're going the Texas route.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not a bad process.
It's not the win I wanted, but it's the win I'll take because it's still a win.
Yeah, and it goes in the right direction.
Plus, they also dropped all fees for permits, and we became a sanctuary state, which I know that does nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's like a declaration,
more or less. Yes.
Got it.
But again, dropping the fees and the open carry, that's a good push in the right direction. If people do it and nothing happens, then that's an avenue for constitutional carry. Look, why are we worried about this? Nothing happened with the permits, so let's continue having the permits, but let's let everybody constitutional carry anyway. Yeah,
I mean that's the way we did it here. Our governor had a 3-step process when he first took office. The first was to lower the fees down to almost nothing. The second was licensed open carry, and then the third was constitutional carry. And it did take him several years to get it done, but it worked exactly as planned. Every time something was passed, he was able to show that violent gun crime lowered after each change. So they said, look, the state of Texas is responsible. and the crime has been lowered, and I made it easier for the citizens to protect themselves, so we should have our constitutional rights, and boom, it got passed. And strangely enough, crime is still going down. However, it is on the rise in the capital city, Austin, because it's a liberal shithole. And also, like, I live in the fourth largest shithole in the country. My local news covers any shooting on their front page as if there was 10 shootings. And they focus on it to make it look worse than it is. Yeah. But I mean, they're driving a narrative to prove that it's worse than it is, or to make it look like it's worse than it is.
They're always going to drive that narrative because that's what they think makes them money, but it doesn't.
That's the thing. It can make you money, but it doesn't make you safer.
No.
So.
Anyways, what are these other topics we got? What do we got?
Okay, so second story. A couple months back, there was this submarine out in, let's just say, South China Sea-ish area, and apparently somebody needs a forward-facing camera or a windshield in front of that sub because they smashed it into an underwater seamountain. And the USS Connecticut, which I believe is a Seawolf class submarine, one of only 3, which is probably the deadliest implement in the ocean in the world. Man, if I didn't listen to my dad growing up, I would have been a submariner, without a doubt. I would have been the first in line to volunteer for that. I find it fascinating. But, crashed into a seamount, didn't sink,
Cool.
Everyone survived. They limped it to Guam, which doesn't have a dry dock, and then they did like emergency sort of external repairs so it has a smoother draft in the water, and then they ended up taking it under its own power back to Pearl. Well, it's undergoing repairs. What's that?
Does Pearl have a dry dock?
Yes.
Okay.
So, oh wait, you know what? I'm sorry. It went from Pearl, I think, to Washington after that.
I know we got based in Washington, but I know we got based in California too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's in Washington now. Sorry, I got that wrong. But anyway, Congress has already approved $50 million towards the initial repairs for the Connecticut. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah, that'll just buff right out.
Exactly. $50 million sounds like a lot of money for a multi-billion-dollar submarine. But the fact of the matter is that's a drop in the bucket. We got it here, and now we're going to have 100 health and safety meetings, and we're going to figure out where we're going to cut the nose off, and we're going to put a new shiny one on. If you didn't know, the nose cone of a submarine is not metal. It's, let's call it fancy fiberglass, or carbon fiber or something. It's not metal, which means when it hit the seamount, the sonar dome in the front of the sub, it's huge. Like, it's 1/6 the front length of the submarine. That's how big a sonar thing is on a submarine. It's huge.
This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like.
I got a photo of it here somewhere. I think it's the San Francisco. Let me scroll it down here. San Francisco. Oh, I took that picture out. Okay, if you're looking here, everything in front of this yellow line is the sonar array and that nose piece. The whole thing. And it was crushed in, and it didn't sink. And it made it all the way back under its own power. So, this is a down payment for the repairs. This is the Seawolf, by the way. But they have another sonar array, but they're not going to use it. They're going to build a whole new one, which is going to be expensive, clearly.
Yeah.
But for a good reason, though, because China, Russia. This is the anti-China sonar array we're building, essentially. So this will be the most upgraded Seawolf in the fleet now, ahead of the flagship. And that's fine. That's fine. This is the most deadly weapon on the seas right now in the world, without a doubt. if you know the specs of this thing, it's fast, it's big, it's maneuverable,
three.
it's very quiet.
2 other ones, right?
Huh?
We got 2 other ones just like.
Yeah. Seawolf, Connecticut, and there's one other one, but I forgot what the other one is.
Yeah.
But, oh, the San Francisco thing.
Yeah, San Francisco got hit too.
Yeah. But it's the deadliest weapon on the seas. It holds 58 weapons. It's huge. It's like a gunship of the sea. It's amazing. Anyway, I'm just geeking out over it. $50 million, that'll buy the fiberglass front end for it, essentially. Anyway, moving right along. I knew we were going to get through these quickly. All right, so how did I write the caption for this? Oh, yeah, okay.
Seawolf, the Connecticut, the Jimmy Carter.
What's the other one?
The Jimmy Carter.
Oh, okay, so the San Francisco is a different class. Got it. Ethan Crumbley. That name may not mean something to most of you. 2A people tend to remember the names of lunatics because they endanger the future of our rights. He's the kid who went into Oxford High School and decided to be an idiot, right? Anyway, the way I wrote this is Ethan Crumbley's drawings read off like a bad B-movie script. Because what he had done was he had these drawings on his math homework or something like that. And it was of a pistol pointed straight down, and it said something like, "Help me," and it said something like, oh, it actually says it right there, the thoughts won't stop, help me, and like blood everywhere, something like that. Now, try to put yourself mentally in this kid's position. Okay, so he's a high schooler. He's got a mousy looking face. He's probably not getting any action. His parents are a bit strange. Apparently his mother is a hooer. We'll get to that in a minute.
She's turning tricks, huh?
Well, not really, but I'll get into that in a second. So, he's got a lot going against him. And he seems like a bit of an introvert. This is the phase where, when I was growing up, you were either dressed up like Kurt Cobain, which means you probably didn't bathe very often, or you dressed up like Garth Brooks and Clint Black, which means you probably had a low sperm count because of the nut huggers you were wearing. Or you dressed up like Anthrax, which means you probably could carry a pistol that weighs as much as my Walther and not even feel it because you were used to wearing chains and spikes and things throughout your whole childhood. Either way, either that and you wore khakis and polo shirts if you were a prep. I guess there was that too. Anyway, the one thing that all those people had in common is you were angry, you were confused. I won't say you were sexually confused. You were sexually frustrated, you were angry, you were confused about growing up because you were an impressionable youth, and you probably wrote bad poetry. Because I did. Anyway, point is, that's the phase that this kid is in. And yet, he sounds like somebody with Fragile X syndrome. Because he rubs off like the kind of lunatic that you see on Dr. Phil, where you feel like the whole thing is staged. They're like, no way. Nobody talks like this. Nobody writes crap like this. Nobody believes the stuff that he did. This kid believed what he was saying. And the teacher saw it, and then he scribbled it all out, and he changed the way it looked or wrote. But it was sort of like a literary version of a Freudian slip. He initially put his true thoughts down on paper first, got caught, and then tried to cover his tracks. This was all released recently. Prosecutors using this. I think he's using this as a way to further implicate the parents. Because in the drawings, Crumbley also mentioned that his mom is a hooer, meaning she was having an extramarital affair that he knew about while his dad was being a simp, I guess. Or a gimp, depending on the way you look at it. Kind of looks like one. I'm not going to judge. Anyway, they're using these drawings and things now to build a profile on this kid. He's never coming out of jail. Ever. You know, I don't care how shitty your life is. You don't do this. You don't do what he does. That doesn't make any sense. First of all, it doesn't solve your problems. Second of all, you're not going to become famous for it. I don't know why they think they're going to be famous. You're not going to be in history books. You're going to be at the bottom right corner of page 98 of the newspaper if your city still prints a newspaper. Nobody cares. Anti-gunners care that a gun was used, and they'll demonize him. But the fact of the matter is you will gain nothing from this. So don't fucking do it. Anyway, he's not coming out. His parents are going to be held criminally liable for negligence of some sort, without a doubt. There's so many victims in this, it's unreal. The kid's his own victim, because he couldn't control himself. The family is going to be ruined. The family is ruined. The husband and the wife would probably never get over the fact that the wife is a whore. So that's already ruined. Then there's the dead people. Then there's all the family members and relatives and friends of those dead people. One mass shooter makes 100 victims. Like, it's mind-boggling. Anyway, enough with him. Unfortunately, I think Michigan repealed their death penalty too in September. So he's gonna live on the dole on your dime for being an idiot. Anyway, enough of that. Moving right along. Unless you have something you want to talk about with them. Like, do you have anything to add to?
No,
Okay.
No. No,
Okay.
No sympathy for this one.
Me neither. Like, I have more sympathy for the cop that just got found guilty.
Yeah.
Because
it always seems like the people that make the mistakes get punished the worst for it, yet the hardened criminals get off like nothing.
yeah. No, that's I agree.
But the other problem is, yes, she made a mistake, but the problem is, guess what? You made the mistake, so you gotta own up to it. You gotta accept you did something wrong, and apologize for it, and hope people accept your apology. But know that you're gonna have to face the consequences of making that mistake regardless.
I think she did. She seemed genuinely distraught by what she did. I mean, she even said it on camera right after she did it. And it didn't come off like somebody who was saying it for the sake of trying to cover their ass. Like, this woman's life is ruined. Her marriage is not ruined, however. There's a very tale of two different situations. Her husband is solid with her about this. And I think they have every right to appeal. I think, realistically, wrongful death, yes. Culpable homicide, absolutely. Culpable just means that you contributed to the death of another individual without malice, without ill intent, right? Because he was trying to escape. There was a struggle. It's not like the guy complied. If he complied, this is the problem with anti-gunners too. They always try to split this hair, and they tell you, you can't use the excuse that if they just complied that the person would still be alive today. No. You know what? You don't get that luxury to tell us that. If they had complied, this would be a non-issue. The guy tried to escape. So he escalated a situation that spun out of control. That's the facts. It's just, it is what it is. Anyway. I think I'm going to need a new headset soon because my mic is going Rice Krispies.
Oh, you love that.
Culpable homicide, yes. Wrongful death, civil suit, sure. Intentional homicide, no. And I think because of her years of service and clean record, she had no priors. She had nothing on her record, right? I think the worst that should have happened was culpable homicide. I think it should have been something like house arrest with an ankle monitor, probation, stuff like that, because of her years of service as a public servant. She can go to jail for like, what, 25 years?
Yeah.
That's not fair. I'm
Like,
sorry, that's not fair.
Why are the people that always make the bad decisions getting the third degree, whereas the hardened criminals get they get off scot free? It's like evil. If you do evil in this country, all the time, you get a pass. But if you screw up, you get treated like the guy who's a cold hardened criminal.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the thing is laws are supposed to be laws were passed and they're in the books to protect the citizenry, and yet
Right.
it's not. It's like we've hit this phase of society.
Protecting the criminals.
Well, the prosecutors are. The laws themselves, as written, they're supposed to protect the people. It's supposed to be like a set of guidelines of how to live a good life, right? Or how to live an honest life. And instead, the way that the judicial system is currently set up, and the way that these like liberal prosecutors and DAs are working, is they're using laws more like a slave master's whip. Instead of protecting the people, they're subjugating the people with them. If we catch you doing this, you'll be in jail for 25 years. Stuff like that. And it's like, who gave you that fucking authority? Like, I open carry outside the waistband every day. And it's like, a year ago, I'd be in jail for that. Why? I didn't do anything. I carry my pistol like I carry my pocket knife. I carry my pocket knife like I carry the keys of my car or my wallet. It's just something I have to take with me every day. It's my insurance policy. I keep one insurance policy in my wallet. I keep my other insurance policy in my holster. Is it that difficult to understand, Anyway, moving right along. Baby bird Stu Scheller. It's not an insult. It's what they call lieutenant colonels. Little birds, baby birds, junior birds. Lieutenant Colonel. Stu Scheller. You might remember him from, was it 4 months ago?
Yeah, he got that court-martialed.
He got court-martialed, and I think charges were dropped, right? Anyway, he was given a general discharge. Which means he wasn't dishonorably discharged, but he wasn't honorably discharged either. Which I believe means he doesn't get his benefits, right? Or does he?
I think it means you don't get your benefits, but you get to keep your constitutional rights.
Something like that. Because court-martials are basically like felony trials, right? So.
Well, yeah. Then if you're dishonorably discharged, even if you get off, and you get off scot free, you still you lose your constitutional rights. Something.
Yep. And ever the consummate professional, military service does interesting things to people. So in this guy's case, it molded him into who he is, morally, physically, everything. And you can tell that this is one of the guys who had a good experience in the military. He was polite, he was humble, he was articulate, he was grateful. He served 17 years. He doesn't hold it against the Corps. And he thanked the Corps for providing him the service that people will thank him for. And this is a good case of the service worked for the person. Unfortunately, politics sort of screwed him out of the service. Let's be honest. But anyway, general discharge, guy's a civvy now. Sure, he'll become like a Fox military analyst or something, like General Jack Keane.
What he could do is he could, depending on what state he's from, he could possibly get a state air.
Maybe.
if he wants to try that. Because I'm sure there's tons of other states that would take him in their air guard.
I don't know. I see this guy probably writing a book or two now. I don't know. Just for some reason, I just see him as he's going to be an analyst. The same thing happened to Kayleigh McEnany. Same thing happened to Jack Keane. Like, all these guys ended up being on Fox. He may become a cop. That's possible. That is possible. Maybe that's not my headset doing that. I don't know. Alright, moving right along. Okay, so the way I worded this is a bit strange. Hang on a sec, I got a cough. Alright, there we go. Lung butter. Anyway, I had this theory. For those of you who don't know, the Winter Olympics are going to happen in Beijing in 2 months. Geopolitically, this is a very strange time because you've got China waving sabers and breeding an army of infantry right now. About 12 years ago, they released or they lifted the restrictions on the number of children you can have, and their industry is pretty busy. They've already thumbed their nose at, the Paris Climate Accord and all that other stuff, right? And they released a biological weapon on the world. Let's not kid ourselves. It has affected humanity greatly. We have an entire generation of children who, I'm going to try to say this without being cruel or mean or malicious. We have a generation of children, by and large, I'm not saying all the children because most of you are responsible parents, who have left the public school system knowing less than the generations before them because they missed so much school through COVID, telepresence, whatever you want to call it.
I gotta head out. Family is calling. So
okay.
I will
Thanks
see
for
you
coming,
later.
though.
Merry Christmas. Remember to check your messages.
I will do. Thank you.
I sent you something.
All right. So,
Merry Christmas, everyone.
shall not be infringed.
No fringes.
No fringes. No pee. Okay. So, let me fix this. So, there. All right. So, it's just me. Sorry. Anyway. So, we have this incursion against Taiwan. We have a generation of children who know less than the generation before. We have an education system that's sort of in the toilet. We have everything that's politically driven. We have a sweeping swath of people who have become introverts because they've been locked down. We also have a giant pool of people who are bitter and angry and short-tempered because they've been locked down. Meanwhile, China's building an army and a navy and an air force. One hell of an imagery. They have telegraphed their intentions to the world. They will try to take Taiwan. They will crush Hong Kong with an iron fist if they have to do it. They want to be taken seriously. They have been the world's manufacturing facility for decades. They're flush with cash. They're flush with technology because they take it from everywhere else. And then they flip the bird when someone says, hey, that's mine. This is just what they do. Couple that with the fact that Russia is amassing an army on the Ukrainian border to the tune of hundreds of thousands of troops and equipment. And they made a deal with China. So now you have set the stage for what could become a very long, painful global conflict. Something that the world has not had to face on this scale since 1945. Everything else would be considered a police action, right? But I'm setting the table here for this. What does the Ukraine do in this situation? They're not a NATO member yet. They don't want to be annexed. They don't want to be ruled like a satellite state to Russia. People say that Putin is trying to bring back the good old days of the Soviet Union. However, if you look at the biggest cities in Russia, they emulate European culture in terms of style, in terms of layout. They want to be recognized as an Eastern European society, essentially. But they're not. The world doesn't recognize them as such. And I think that angers Putin because he wants to be legitimized that way. He also wants to be legitimized as a world power. The United States is on our side of the world, they're on their side of the world. They want to be like us. They want to be like Mike, right? You got this going on. And what's a world to do? You know, they're making deals with China. They're amassing armies. And then they test a new hypersonic missile. And then the leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin, decides to have a 4-hour press conference. And in that press conference, he confirms the test of this hypersonic missile. And then he starts making demands. And his demands are pretty direct. He wants assurances that NATO and the United States will not interfere with the conflict in the Ukraine. Doesn't want any more buildup. Doesn't want any more incursion. And he says that he is trying to avoid conflict. He wishes to avoid conflict with the Ukraine. And yet, he's doing the very thing that he's saying that we're doing. Now, what does that sound like to you? Let me explain. For those of you who follow me in the lobby, here, or in chats previous, you've heard me say this for years. Page 1 of the Democratic National Committee's playbook is preemptively accuse the other side of what you are guilty of. Think about that. Democrats always say that the other side is racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, name your phobic, right? Russia is building an army on the border. They, by all accounts, have every intention of taking over the Ukraine. One story you don't hear every day in that border crisis right now in the Ukraine and Russia is shots are fired every day across that border. Every day. They're not telling you this. Go look it up yourself. You'll see what I'm talking about. There are skirmishes along that border every day. Strangely enough, Ukrainian soldiers are the only ones getting wounded. Not the Russian ones. Not a single casualty in Russia. But Ukrainians soldiers are being shot every day in little border skirmishes during firefights. But they're not telling you that. You can fact check it yourself, though. It is out there. You just have to find it. The stories are there. And yet he turns around, tests a hypersonic missile, and says he doesn't want us messing with the affairs of the Ukraine. You're the one doing the shooting, dude. You're the one who built the army there. So, if you don't want us involved, fine. Then the Ukrainian army, they need to start putting as many mines on their border as possible right now. Like, you should put down so many mines that you could hop across, what was it? England to Iceland to Greenland to New York. Just like that Hunt for Red October quote. They should be mining the ever-living hell out of their border right now. Because if we can't help them, they can only help themselves. That's all I'm saying. Putin's a liberal. Who'd have guessed? China already has an army. It has the third largest air force on the world, on Earth, and the world's largest navy. You're correct. However, hang on a second, I got a cough. Okay. China's navy is large, yes. It's a bit obsolete. It has the noisiest submarines in the world. They're the easiest to track and detect. Their navy comprises mostly of coastal and amphibious assault craft. They don't really do carriers. They got the two, but they don't really do carriers. They really don't do heavy cruisers. They definitely don't do battleships. Their infantry, I think, is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1.5 million in a country of 1.5 billion. But you raise a really good point, Sam. And I've said this before too. You can conscript and draft in China an army twice the size of the entire population of the United States overnight, if need be, and still have 900 million people working the military complex of that country to arm and supply the other 600 million soldiers if they had to. That is what you should be scared of. That is what the world should be afraid of. Now, people could say, hey, they're never going to hit us. They can't make it here. They'll never get here. And I would say, for the most part, you're right. But geopolitically, China's done something really clever. They've been under the guise of industrial humanitarian efforts for quite some time now. They went to, I think it was Ethiopia, and they said, hey, we want to help make you modern. We want to bring you up to speed with the rest of the world. We want to make you the jewel of Africa. And the Ethiopians were like, tell me more. So they said, why don't you let us bring a couple of contractors in? And we'll help irrigate your country. And we'll build you a road network that will make every other African country jealous. And then they'll want it too. And they'll ask us to help them. We'll build these roads for you. You're going to love it. And Ethiopia goes, sweet, but we can't pay you. China goes, well, let's not worry about that. Let's just put the roads down for you. Let's get you going. Let's get you going. Let's get you moving. Ethiopia's like, are you sure? Yeah, tell you what. If you're so worried about paying us, how about this? We'll build all this stuff for you. And you see that little patch of beach over there that no one's using? Yeah, that right there. Yeah. How about you let us build like a little coastal installation right there? Give us, say, 600 acres. And we'll build like a naval port there, which will help your imports. We'll protect your waters. Maybe we can even hire a couple of your civilians to help us out. And Ethiopia goes, cool. Yeah, we weren't using that anyway. Come on in. So they did. And they built a road network. And it was exactly what they said it would be. And they built their base. And what that had done was it gave China a western foothold on the eastern end of the Indian Ocean. And what else is over there? The Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, access to the Suez Canal, the southern approaches to the tip of Africa. What they had done was brilliant. They had, on the chessboard, moved a rook from east to west and put it right where it needed to be. But hey, they still can't come to the United States. They weren't thinking of that yet. They were trying to secure the underbelly of the Pan-Asian continent. And they did it. Fast forward a little bit. They said, hey, Chile, Argentina, come here a second. Let me talk to you. Your roads are shit. You got desert. You got high altitude. Y'all got problems. How about we come over there and we'll build you a couple of roads, a couple of networks. You see that swath of beach down there that no one's using just off the Atacama Desert there? Maybe you let us put it like a little dock there too. I don't know, give us like 3,000 acres. We'll build a giant seaport there. Might help your imports, might help your exports, might protect your fishermen, might protect your people. You might even hire a couple of your civilians to help you out. They turned around and they said, sweet, do it. So they did. Now, they have a foothold on the eastern end of the South Pacific. On the west end of South America. It's gigantic. Then they get mad at the fact that we, the United States, are trying to rein them in by giving us and our allies a foothold in the South Pan-Asian Seas on the northern coast of Australia. There's a large naval base being built on the north coast of Australia with dry docks to service the Australian Navy, but ours too. That gives us a foothold right under the chin of China. China has already threatened to attack Australia, if need be, if forces get involved with Taiwan. Sound funny? Sound familiar? Does the playbook look a little bit like Imperial Japan in 1935? 6, 7, 8, 9. Go on. Do we have a border crisis in the south part of America? Do we have armies of people walking right the fuck into Texas? Yes. Are they all of Latin descent? No. Did we find Syrians? Yes. Did we find Haitians? Yes. Did we find Asian peoples? Yes. Did we find Middle Eastern people? Yes. Don't tell me China can't make it to the United States. You just can't. You're not going to convince me. They're already here. Anyway, point is, they have done that brilliantly. From a military and tactical standpoint, on a chessboard, they have played this game beautifully. And because we're currently being led by an idiot who capitulates to this country, to that country, he turns a blind eye. And turning a blind eye to an enemy that big, whether you don't think they're an enemy or not, very dangerous for national security. Very. Problem is, you can't impeach him. Number one, you don't have the numbers. And even if you did, you still have to worry about the order of secession. At least 4 people down. Do you really want President knee pads? No. How about President Pelosi? No. President Leatherface Schumer? No. President Jerry Nat? No. You don't want any of that. Unfortunately, we're stuck with the idiot. The best thing we can do is participate in the process and make sure that you fill Congress with enough people to stop him. Just make him the lamest of lame ducks, because that's all you can do. And then stop crying about mean tweets, you idiots, because look at the alternative. We are living the alternative right now. Lockdowns and economic bullshit right now. People are buying used cars for less than 5% of what it cost new. My coworker George, 2014 Nissan Altima, base model. He paid 17 grand for it. He traded it in 7 years later. They gave him 8 grand trade-in, which sounds great, right? But then I turned around and saw his car on the lot a month later with a $16,000 price tag on it. Used, 7 years old, 90,000 miles. Joe Biden's legacy. $64 for me to fill my tank the other day. $64. Day before election day, $17. Joe Biden. Meat prices, Joe Biden. Oil prices, Joe Biden. Energy prices, Joe Biden. And unfortunately, he's the least of our concerns. It's the Congress behind him that's dangerous. It's everyone who would succeed him that's dangerous. Make sure you do your part next November. I have a Jaime now. He finally made it.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. So anyway, sorry. I may have went into the weeds just a little bit on that. But hey, it was fun, right? I missed one key factor. The UK also has a major foothold in Australia too. Correct. They are still a colonial. I get that. It's just... Okay, fine, we'll talk about it. Since you're listening, I will talk about it.
Do it.
So, every world war kicked off with a small conflict in a do-nothing part of the world at the time that gave the world an excuse to choose sides. So, World War I, assassination of Franz. It was assassination of
Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand. I was going to say that, but it just didn't roll off my tongue correctly. So, Archduke Franz Ferdinand assassinated by, was it Turkish assassins? Something like that. Turkish or
So something like that.
Turkish or Greek or something. Killed with a 380 when his driver was trying to turn around the vehicle because he got stuck in an alleyway or something. But it was a small thing in a small country that gave all the other nations who were already drawing up plans and eyeballing each other to go to war. World War II, sort of the same thing, right? It was like Germany was crushed down by the Versailles Treaty already for years. Then, the little, what did they call him? The little corporal decided he was going to make Germany proud again in the 20s and 30s. And then he decided to go on a Polish holiday. And that kicked off, another conflict. So, we talked about this, I think, last week. If there's a third global conflict, looking at the way that the stage is set right now, it won't be because China attacks Taiwan, and it probably won't be because Russia attacks the Ukraine. They're too big of chess piece to move to start the fight. It always starts with a pawn knocking out a pawn, right? Do you guys remember that Saudi Arabia had been attacking Yemen? You guys remember that from about a year ago? Maybe 2 years ago? Before COVID. Isn't it funny how COVID has sort of distracted you from all the little things that was covered in the news that should make you worry about bigger things coming later? Do you also find it funny that there have been no new cases of any of the old strains of COVID when a new strain is detected? Did you ever notice that? When's the last time you heard someone had the Delta variant? Or the magna cum laude variant, whatever the fuck it's called, right? Only the new one, never the old ones. Why is that? Why is it that vaccines don't work? I thought they're vaccines. They're supposed to do the thing. They're not doing the thing. They're just reducing the effect of the thing. How many times have you had chicken pox? Once. Have you ever had it again? No. Maybe shingles. I had it once. Comes back. Sucks. I think I had it once when I was 16. Anyway. Vaccines that don't work. Funny how that works. Anyway. Sorry, I'm tangenting, aren't I? Okay. Final story is the monument thing that Sam has been very patiently waiting for. So, cancel culture was a thing. You guys remember? Before COVID. And racism. And tear down monuments. gotta tear down this one, that one, that one. Oh, you got this one in Texas, in Herman Park. That's got to go. It's a man on a horse. Wasn't even a soldier. Take it down. It just looks like a man on a horse. Take it down. What about this bust of Lenin in Washington? No, no, that one's fine. Leave that one. That one's cool. That one looks good. Nice mustache. Good hair day. Even though he's bald. Good hair day. Those can stay. What about this 40-foot statue of Robert E. Lee proudly on his mount in Virginia? Oh, that son of a bitch has got to go. Get that out of here. Jesus Christ, what are you thinking about? That's like king racist right there. Get rid of that. I mean, never mind the fact that he emancipated and educated all his slaves. Never mind that he was actually chosen by Abraham Lincoln to lead the Union Army, but politely declined. Never mind the fact that he was never tried for war crimes. Never mind the fact that he actually went on to become a college professor for years after he left the service, even though he would have been a shoo-in for President of the United States. Never mind all that. Tear down that statue. Get it out of here.
Or his memoirs where he says he doesn't like the fact that they're fighting for racism, not racism, slavery.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the War of Secession was actually based off of states' rights versus federal overbearance.
No, I
We
know,
know
but
that.
like in his memoirs, he says if this war was fighting for slaves, I would give each one of my men like kind of an iteration of saying I would rather surrender than keep fighting for the losses of
Yeah.
this war.
Right, exactly.
So he thought if we're fighting for slavery, then this war is useless.
Yeah, and the
Dude.
thing is it's the exact opposite of Abraham Lincoln's stance during the Horace Greeley letters. The exact opposite. So anyway, point is, get that thing out of here. So they did. I think it happened. Most of the monuments in my area were taken down in the middle of the night, so nobody could stop them. I think this one was taken down in the daytime.
It was because they found a capsule.
Exactly. They plucked the statue off the top of a 40-foot pedestal. And at the base of that pedestal was a time capsule that was put there in 1887? Right? That sound about right? Something like that? Anyway,
Something like
it was a plastered. See, I knew this was going to happen. I told you this was going to happen. They didn't solder the box. They plastered it. And because they plastered it, moisture got inside. And they opened it finally. Because for a week, people were like, what's in the box? Was tearing down all of our history to take out this tiny little box worth it? What was the answer? No, it wasn't worth it. There was no picture of Abraham Lincoln on his deathbed in there like everyone had thought. There was no silver and gold coin in there from 1885 or whatever. None of that was in there. There was a rusty, dry-rotted 1875 almanac. There was one cloth envelope with a silver coin in it. One silver coin in it. There was one red-bound book inside of it. Let me pull it up for you. There was a tattered book with a pink cover that appeared to be an edition of the Huguenot Lovers, a tale of the Old Dominion. Huguenot? Huguenot, yeah. He was a City of Richmond civil engineer who worked on the plans for the Monument Avenue, where the Lee statue actually stood. That's why they put his book in there, I guess as a thank you. There's a pamphlet talking about water powering facilities for Manchester. Here's all the stuff here. This is all they found. This is it. Just this. Envelope, coin, couple of books. That's it. Nothing else. All that history, all that tradition, all those warnings, all those monuments, all those plinths torn down for 3 books. Most of which are historically meaningless, to be honest. Why? Why? See, this is what they were hoping. A newspaper article from 1887, the year that the time capsule was embedded in the pedestal, suggested that the capsule contained Civil War memorabilia. That would have been worthwhile. And a picture of Lincoln lying in his coffin. It would have been one of like 3 or 4 pictures known to exist. Records from the Library of Virginia also suggested that 37 Richmond residents, organizations, and businesses contributed to about 60 objects to the capsule, many of which were believed to be by the Confederacy. But the box was only 14 by 14 by 8. Tiny. Sorry. The capsule was 4 by 8 by 11 and a half, and it was made out of lead. It's actually smaller than what the story had. So they even had fake news in 1887. CNN was around in 1887, apparently. But anyway, yeah. Lead box, plastered, water damaged, dry rotted. Whatever, man. That's all I got for you for that. Contents. The juice just wasn't worth the squeeze. That's basically what I'm saying. The juice was not worth the squeeze. Date on the silver coin wasn't disclosed. They didn't even take a picture of it. It was just the books that they took a picture of. Because, they got to separate it and preserve it. Maybe they couldn't get the paper off the coin or something and they have to steam it or whatever. Either way, done deal. Those are my stories for you for the week. However, I have a 7th exercise. And unfortunately, my other panelists that I was going to share this exercise with you guys with aren't here. But what I can tell you is, before we went on air, we had all unanimously agreed that it was the same thing. So keep in mind what I'm about to say is backed by 3 of the now 4 panelists we've had. Plus, I'm trying to keep a cat from leaping out of my throat. So, final segment for me today is firearms related. Much to your surprise, I'm sure. What was the biggest letdown? Wah, wah. What was the biggest letdown in firearms releases for 2021? Now, the reason I ask this question is because back in the day, we would discuss during or just before or during SHOT Show what guns we are looking forward to based off the speculation of what rumors were coming out for SHOT Show the next year. But because COVID, SHOT Show's kind of fucked. Like, it was ruined. And it wasn't as good for like the last 2 years. The thing I looked forward to was the Anaconda. But the biggest letdown for me, and for Scott, and for Night Strike, was the Kel-Tec P50. Strangely enough. Oh, you know what? I forgot to add that. I knew I forgot something. Let me see.
So it has to be released.
Huh?
So it has to be released, or it doesn't need to be, or.
Well, the biggest letdown. It was supposed to be out this year.
Oh well, I don't know if it was supposed to be out this year, but PSA's MP5.
That was last year.
Okay, well.
The PA5 or whatever? Yeah, that
yeah,
was last year.
Still.
This is our choice. This was our choice. This monstrosity, this picture is courtesy of the Yankee Marshal, by the way. I'm glad he took this photo because this killed it for me. This is the Kel-Tec P50. And what you're looking at, where that arrow is pointed, are the 2 rods for the charging handle, which works similar to an AR. As you can probably tell, they're bent because they're so flimsy. I don't know what they're made out of. Aluminum? The hopes and dreams of 7-year-old girls all over the world? I don't know. It's just, how many times do you think you can pull on that before it breaks? That cap that he's holding looks like it's made out of plastic. How are those cables attached to that cap? How long do you think it'll be before you pull on that cap and the cables break free and get sucked into the receiver, sort of like when you break the end off of a tape measure and it gets wound up inside its casing? What a piece of shit. I wanted this thing so bad until I saw that. And apparently Scott did too. And apparently Night Strike did too. Second determining factor that ruined it, price. MSRP was supposed to be, I think, $7.99. I was willing to pay $800 for it because I was super excited to see what kind of pistol braces were coming out for this thing. It has two mounts. One was right about here. Sorry, you can't see my mouse, can you? Anyway, one was just below the nut in the middle of the picture. That little round bit there, just above that little finger thing. And then one was at the bottom of the grip. And I thought, QD mounts, times 2, clip in 2 places on the back of the gun that give you a brace that has 2 contact points back there. So it'd have like a triangle cutout, sort of like a thumbhole stock. Cool. Plus brace on the end, like a tail hook type thing. Or an SBA 3 type thing. Awesome. This reminds me of a James May quote. And from Top Gear. Where he was talking about the Jaguar XJS. Which is gorgeous on the outside. Hot mechanical garbage on the inside. He describes the looks and the aim of what that car was supposed to achieve. And he said, you had the perfect recipe for shepherd's pie, which is sort of like chicken pot pie in a way, but it's got beef and vegetables like peas and carrots. And the top, instead of pastry, is potato, as far as I'm aware. I don't think I've ever had a shepherd's pie, to be honest. I know that sounds weird, but it sounds delicious. Anyway, you had the perfect recipe for shepherd's pie. And then you turned around and you made it with dog meat. You idiots. There's no saving that. That gun is designed and produced already. You can't fix that design. You can't modify it now. The only thing you can do now is make those cables out of something so strong and so thick and so brittle that it's going to raise your cost because it'll have to be made out of some exotic material. I can't trust it. Not for what they're selling for. Because they're not selling it MSRP. They're selling it like 80% over. I think the cheapest one I found was $1,500. I ain't in it for $1,500. I was barely in it for $800. I can't do it. Real disappointment. Real letdown. Probably the worst letdown of 2021. That gun right there. What do you got, Jaime? Other than a mute button. I guess he was on about the PA5, which, where is it?
Well, that's the only one I have, the PA5.
The only thing I can think of is that gun is probably sitting in a box right next to where my Colt Python should be. Let's see. Sam says, I considered getting my lady a Keltec PF9, but then I was hearing bad things about the Keltecs. Yeah. If you want to get her a carry pistol that's really reliable, not bad looking, not overly expensive, not overly big, not overly heavy, but has usable upgrades already attached. if she's recoil sensitive or has small hands, then get the one I have. But if not, then get the other one, which my friend has. Smith & Wesson M&P Easy 380 shield. That's what I bought. I bought the gold one. So it's got a gold frame safety, gold barrel. It's like titanium nitride. It's got lightning cuts on the slide. It has the combination fiber optic and tritium inserted sights. So it's got night sights. How many rounds does this thing hold? 8+1 in the 380 variant. It's got this.
Your Walther?
No, my Easy Shield.
Oh, okay.
And it's got this really neat follower in the magazine where you can grip it with your thumbs like a 22 mag and pull down. So it's really easy to load. It's got a very light recoil spring, so it's incredibly... I can rack this thing with 2 fingers. And it's got an external thumb safety that's ambidextrous. So you could literally have this cocked and locked if you wanted. And it still has the frame safety. It doesn't have a dingus, but it has a flat face trigger, which is also gold on mine. And I bought this. I ordered this the day it was announced. I saw it and I was just like, gotta have it. And I wanted a 380 because I wanted to replace the PPK that I got rid of years ago. And I had a bunch of 380 laying around. So I thought, yeah, this is perfect. And the Easy 9 shield wasn't out yet. It didn't come out till a year later. So I bought the 380. When my friend wanted to buy a carry gun, his first, he got the Easy 9 shield with the silver barrel. Sells for about $500, $550-ish. Comes with a Performance Center cleaning kit, cardboard box, whatever. But 2 magazines, easy to load, easy to shoot, easy to clean, pretty good looking. That's probably what I would recommend for a carry pistol. At least for now, until something better comes along. But I like it. I bought one. I staked my reputation on it. I bought one. Funny thing is, it's about the same size as my 3913 Ladysmith. So the idea of the gun is not new. The execution of it, though, was at the time. It's brilliant. And yeah, I do have a Ladysmith. And I'm not embarrassed to say it. I mean, I bought it because it was the gun that Andrea carried in The Walking Dead. And it has like it has a signature like primer gray grip. It's a 3rd gen Smith. Single stack 9mm. The only upgrade I did to it was I took the rear sight off and I put an LPA adjustable rear sight on it. Because this gun shot real high. I guess it was 0 to a different distance than they are these days. But I like it. People apparently, when these were new, even men liked it so much they bought it. And then they asked Smith & Wesson, could you maybe make this gun without the word Ladysmith on the side? And they obliged. And they came out with what they called the 3913, I think it was called the NLS, non-Ladysmith. Same gun, just no laser engraving on the side. And the grips were black instead of primer gray. Exact same gun otherwise. So, there's that. I also carry a, strangely enough, I carry the Savage, the 1907, because I like it. I like the way it looks. It's got 10+1 rounds, 32, but it came with a holster. And it was given to me as a payment for working on other guns. And it's in good shape. I had to find a magazine for it, which is expensive, but I like it. Like it's in my carry rotation. I would show you what's in front of me right now, but it seems like irresponsible, so I won't. But in front of my broadcasting desk here are all my carry pistols that I carry every day in my rotation, and there are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 12 carry pistols sitting in front of me. All in holsters. All ready to go. Walther mouthful. Steyr mouthful. L9A2MF. Easy shield. Beretta 81. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, sorry. I didn't see the Beretta earlier. Jetfire, belly gun, last stand. Stick it in their eye socket and let 6 fly. Jericho 941F with the lock grips, spike spiegels. Put my Hudson back in the rotation. I would, but honestly, my webcam is garbage. It's really old, so like I can't even grab it off the mount. But I'll tell you which ones I got. Walter Q5 match steel frame, Pro. Steyr L9 A2 MF. Beretta 81 32 ACP. Smith & Wesson Easy 380 Shield. Beretta Jetfire 25 ACP. Tiny. Jericho 941F. Polished out stainless. Gray and black composite G10 Spike Spiegel Cowboy Bebop grips from Lock. Brought this back in the rotation recently. 4-digit Hudson H9. Steel. All steel. One of the only ones that still works, as far as I know. I got a good one. Like, I've probably put about almost 3,000 rounds through it. Works fine. Prefers 147 grain bullets. It's the only one that I have to do it on. Glock 43X. Smith & Wesson 3913 Ladysmith. Smith & Wesson 5906. Smith & Wesson 4006 TSW California Highway Patrol. And 14 guns. Savage 1907. Bulgarian Makarov. Forgot about that one. This one was actually new, never issued, sold to the Croatian army, checked in, never issued, sold to surplus, sold to me, unfired. Holster, not even a scratch on it. Perfect Makarov. With the Bakelite grips, but I took them off, put them away, and I put the Fab Defense PMG grip on it with the beaver tail and the mag release button on the side. Kind of nice. And then behind me, I do have other carry guns, like my Yugo Tokarev, which I have in a shoulder holster. My Rock Island ProTac 1 10mm 17+1 in a shoulder holster, because that's a heavy gun. With the Springer Precision anodized mag floor plates. Smith & Wesson 327 Night Guard. 8-shot 357 2-inch barrel, night sights, X-frame tamer grip. Doesn't even weigh a pound loaded because it's scandium. Kind of awesome. Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan 454 Casull 2-inch barrel. Winter carry because assholes come in all sizes. I won't call this a carry pistol, even though I did just buy a mask shoulder rig for it. Smith & Wesson M500 Backpacker. 3-inch barrel, 1-inch break, 500 Magnum. With the bear prints on the cylinder. Got that. 1934 Nagant revolver. Shot it. Probably will never carry it. It has a double action trigger pull so stiff that it broke my trigger pull gauge. Yeah, not going to carry that. What else do I got here? I think that might be it. That might be it. I don't know. I found 4 guns looking for these, so there's that. Anyway, yeah, I got a lot of carry choices, but they're all in my rotation. Most of them have holsters. Very cool. Very eclectic. Not sure what I'm doing for the rest of this year. Probably not much. I would really love to get into what happened to me this year, but it's not that I'm going to say it's none of your business. It's not like that. It's just my forte was psychology of women and couples therapy, and I needed a therapist. Let me put it to you that way. I can help everyone else. I couldn't help myself because I have bad taste in women. I have to admit that. I have bad taste. It's always perception versus reality, and I always perceive them to be what they aren't, and then the reality is they're disgusting people. So anyway, Pwnery's single now. It's Christmas, isn't it? I should probably spend some time with the family and my dogs and whatever else. So I've wasted 2 hours and 10 minutes of your time, and I'm going to start playing this. And I'm going to thank you all for taking the time to come out on your Christmas holiday to spend with me, because I didn't have anybody to hang out with, so I'm grateful. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a regular here, welcome back. Maybe check out my other playlists and see if my other interests might be of interest to you. I also do Pwnery's Penny Arcades for retro games and indie games. I also do gun reviews, reloading videos, gear reviews, dog reviews, tinkering videos, you name it. I do it all. Someday I might even do a So You Want to Be a YouTuber series. But anyway, if you want to join my server or the show, hit me up in the email in the description below. I'll send you an invite to the server, maybe even bring you on the show. Because I do that. I don't mind having guests. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next Saturday. Later.